Welcome to the team, NewyTechPeople, Remote Tech People. In today's episode, we've got Ellen Bennett. Welcome, Ellen.
Thank you.
For those of our audience that don't know who you are, can you give us a bit of an overview of, your role here?
Well, I am Ellen. I specialise in UX and product. And after being overseas for the last few years and working in the space in Europe, I'm back home.
Yeah, nice. Welcome back to Newcastle. Product and UX, you've got a bit of experience working in the UK in that space. Can you give us a bit of an overview of, your journey to date, how you got into that, what you love about that space?
Yeah, so I did uni here in Newcastle and did a visual communications design degree. And I've always just been really into everything design, everything art. And then, as most people do, went and did a gap year. Just kind of fell into recruiting because I wanted something that was going to be, just flexible, I can come in and out of and travel while I was over there. But in doing that, just kind of fell in love with it because not only do I love design, but I'm also really nosy. So I just love asking people lots of questions about their work and what they did. I just kind of fell in love with it and have been doing it ever since.
How do you think the design market has changed over the last 2-3 years that you've been recruiting in this space?
Just the way that tech is heading, it's so much broader now than what it was, but also so much more specialised. So that's what I've been seeing anyway, is you can really take on so many different projects now where kind of design was the afterthought, where now it's really one of the main players in any kind of design or tech project, which is super exciting. So,
yeah, cool. So I feel like UX was an afterthought, or design was an afterthought for technology companies in 5+ years ago. Can you give us some insights into how you've seen that role of UX changing in a technology team?
Yeah, so I feel like the user-centric or human-centric design has been just so much more of a talking point when, stakeholders or clients are actually thinking about making products now, where, back in the day, it was just kind of tacked on afterwards. So I'm finding that now, especially during the pandemic, stakeholders and clients and everyone involved really needed to listen to their users. And how do you get that? By UX research, by listening to UX designers who have a vested interest in making sure that the users are listened to. So going from then to now, it's completely changed. It's a really exciting time to be involved in the space, especially back here in Newcastle and in Australia, because it's only just starting to take off, but we have all of the resources and all of the learnings from some other industries that have been doing it for years. So it's super exciting.
Have you seen any significant differences between the UK market and the Australian market when it comes to UX product design?
So the differences I've seen between the UK and Australia is obviously Europe and the UK market is a lot bigger. So in that, you have people who are very specialised in what they do and sometimes do get pigeonholed, which some people like. But I really am loving hearing everyone's experience here in the Australian market because everyone's so much more generalist and are interested in so many other things and can kind of are really being quite flexible with what they get into next. So that's really great because no one is really, getting stuck in one specific niche. They can just take on anything. So
how do you think the UX space has changed? I feel like when UX first came about, it was very design heavy. And now we're talking, you mentioned researchers, and we're working more in that product design, I guess realm is where we're currently at. How do you think that's evolved?
Yeah, I think UX has changed a lot in the last few years because it's kind of moved from that design heavy space to merging data and design and putting them together and how that can be utilized by any kind of business. So it's really exciting that people are starting to catch on and they are a really, really valuable asset for any company, any business.
For those that are out there and might be going through university or school at the moment and want to get into the UX and product design space, is there any advice that you could give?
Yeah, there's so many great resources like podcasts. I did a LinkedIn post recently on all the podcasts that you should listen to if you're interested in the space. There's lots of advice out there for people who are wanting to make their portfolio a little bit more UX centric, I would say reach out to your local community and see if there's any small businesses that need a new website or need any help that you can kind of just jump onto straight away, and utilize your community. So LinkedIn's a great option. There's so many people who are like posting really great information out there, and just have a look at other people's portfolios and see what they're doing. And yeah, that would be the good starting point.
Portfolio is a really interesting point in the design space and the UX space. I feel like portfolios used to be, very much important. Are portfolios still important for UX professionals in growing their career?
I'd say portfolios are still very important. It's usually the first thing that I want to look at. In saying that, I think the expectation of them has changed over the last few years. So back in the day, you would see lots of like mock-ups of finished products and finished, wireframes and prototypes. It's kind of changed now into more of like a case study situation. So ideally, I love to tell people 3 to 4 projects on your portfolio would be great, but I want to know exactly what you did. Who was in your team? What decisions did you make? Why did you make them? How did you make them? Like really give us some context so that we can know what you did and your thought process behind it, because it's all well and good to see a finished product, but how did you get there? That's what we want to know.
You've worked in the product space for 3 years now, and you've seen some trends change over that time. What are you most excited about moving forward?
Yeah, I guess moving forward for UX and product, I think I'm most excited for just seeing that increased emphasis on human-centric design, and seeing the importance of data, not only in design, but just across all product teams and any team in the business. I feel like it's getting more and more important to listen to your users and invest in that research and make sure that they are the focal point for any product. So yeah, that's what I'm most excited for.
How have you seen the role of a product designer evolve, especially when it comes to that communication element?
Yeah, I think it's that product designer role has definitely changed a lot, mostly because back in the day, it might just be siloed in that design space, when now you really do have to cross-collaborate with so many other different teams, different team members, and that communication skill is, pivotal. So you might be, working with users, doing research, interviews. You really do have to have that social aspect to the job. Or you could be working with product managers all the way up to working with stakeholders and clients. So it's really about having that communication skill.
Yeah. Do you think that's a skill that can be learned, or do you think that is something that's innate within people?
Probably a bit of both. It's like one of those like soft skills, but I think if you're familiar enough with the product and you know your job well enough, you can do it.
Yeah, cool. COVID's obviously affected roles across technology, UX included. Have you seen any significant changes with how a UX or a product design roles changed with that move to remote?
Yeah, I mean, that communication skill is really in demand now. Not only do you have to be able to communicate your ideas thoroughly, but if you are communicating across your team or perhaps to clients or doing UX research, it's just kind of changed, not the job, but how you do it. So yeah, having that agility and that communication skill, I feel like is really, really a priority at the moment.
There's a changing market from COVID to now. What are you seeing in the market from a designer's perspective? What are designers looking for when considering new roles?
Yeah, I think designers are very aware that they are getting more and more in demand. And because of that, they are probably wanting to focus their skills on something that is like a social feel-good role. I'm hearing a lot of tech for good thrown around, and designers are just looking for something that they know they can sink their teeth into and have a really positive impact on their users, because these users are using their products every day sometimes. So they know how much of an opportunity it is to reach as many users as possible. So
are you seeing a growing trend towards more permanent roles or contract roles in the design space? Are people coming in to work on a project and then moving on? What's the current landscape in there?
Yeah, I'd say right now the trend is definitely more on the permanent side of things. I think that has a lot to do with businesses are getting lots of investment after COVID, which is super exciting. So they are able to really invest long-term into their design teams. And also, I think designers are really wanting to be involved with things long-term now. They are wanting stability after the last few years and are wanting to stay in their jobs for a long period of time. That's the trend that I've been seeing, which I think long-term for design as a whole is going to be really great because people are going to be investing long-term into these businesses.
Yeah. And are you seeing a lot of movement in the market at the moment? Obviously, there's a lot of companies investing in these roles. Are designers willing to move at the moment?
Yeah, there is a lot of movement. So, yeah, kind of like catch-22. The businesses who are willing to invest in those designers are going above and beyond to get that great talent. So there's a lot of competition, be that with like financial compensation or also just with, the perks of the job. So seeing obviously lots of remote work going or remote first, hybrid options, or a lot of places right now, which is great, is offering to pay their people to come and visit once a quarter to HQ, which is awesome. So everyone can still get that, one-to-one, communication with their teams, but, they still have that remote first option. And I think designers know that this is happening, and with the market being as it is, I don't think it's going to be going anywhere. It's just a really competitive time, so it's exciting.
Hiring senior level talent seems really difficult at the moment. Mm-hmm. Are you seeing any companies having success with bringing in junior designers and growing them within?
Yeah, I think growing internally is probably the best way to get great talent. Is if you hire someone at the beginning, and especially in the scale-up startup space, if you're able to find someone amazing in that junior range and train them in all of your processes, you can come out in a few years with an amazing senior designer that knows your product inside out. I think that's one of the best things that any company can be doing right now. But in saying that, if you are after someone senior, I feel like speed is utmost importance right now. You have to jump on people super quickly.
And the number one thing for designers at the moment is feel-good factor?
Yeah, the number one thing that I'm seeing for designers is that tech for good factor. Tech for good is, products and businesses that are going to have a great social impact. So we're seeing it a lot in the tech health space. Ed tech is a big one as well, like educational products, and just things that are going to be having a positive impact on the users' lives, that are going to help them day to day.
Perfect.